And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Thursday, February 2nd. I almost said January. February 2nd. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by Prize Picks. We got a 7-game slate for today, and we actually are going to have a little bit of value, so we don't have to just play the absolute garbage of the world across the board. So if you don't want to play the ninth man on some of the teams today, you don't really have to, which is a nice change of pace for the past 2 days. Now, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I prefer the days where the value is obviously bad as opposed and you can actually get creative as opposed to the ones where it's very obvious who everybody's going to play.
There's a middle ground. I don't like it like yesterday where it's like Isaiah Joe and who else was garbage for yesterday? Like Jalen Noel, like that stuff. I don't want to have to get to like the seventh man as a 15% owned guy. Like I want a little bit of value that's just good. I don't mind like mixing in then my guys, but I don't want just all garbage random options to be the guys that get there. It's just not, it's not as fun to cheer for either.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know. I thought, yes, like we said on the show yesterday, I thought Noel was a mistake. I thought Joe was a mistake. I did get caught when he moved into the starting lineup because I think really it was just, I was still swapping around the stuff for Naz Reid. And it was just like, oh, he's starting 26. And then like right after lock, it was like, why did I just give a random dude on OKC 26 minutes when it's OKC? But like I did get caught there, but I don't know. I like when it's everybody's going to play these random shitty guys.
By the way, shout out to Dez, who I assume is just hiding and definitely not showing up here after Naz Reid gets the start for Rudy Gobert and absolutely nukes. Had to have him. No choice in the matter. Got to 60-something% ownership. So if you're ever curious what the best players in the world do, feel free to go check out all of those contests where he was basically 100% owned across the board to anybody with a pulse. So there's that, which we've been telling you ad nauseum for like 3 weeks now, what you got to do in these situations. So I hope you did it. Nothing else to
35
add.
minutes. I was in some foul trouble too early in the second half. Still got the 35 minutes.
OT.
Oh, right. So 30.
Yeah. But even still, like it all worked exactly as we said it. There you go. Showed up. I figured you would have just never been here once again. Like that would have just been it.
That's how bad my night was going. Was I was really just sweating that Naz Reid would do well, just so I wouldn't have to read shit in chat today.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. We're also going to get terrible takes like you can't play Luka today, even with all the value. So we should have fun with that one. You ready to get started for today's slate?
Yep.
Here we go. First game out is a bit of a doozy. The Los Angeles Lakers are 1.5-point favorites in Indy, 240 total. Fantastic DFS matchup here, just because both of these teams play relatively quickly, and neither one of them's all that great from a defense standpoint. Probable tag on Pat Bev, so we're getting him back. Probable tag on AD. We got the Q tag on LeBron, which just sort of exists always. I'm going to hit you with one question first before we get into the actual options for the Lakers. Do you think that Patrick Beverley is going to start today? Do you think that Rui Hachimura will replace Troy Brown in the starting lineup for today?
I think there's a good chance Rui replaces Brown.
Okay. You think Beverly's just back in like it's normal too?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. I went to Rui over Brown as well. Don't know how much that actually matters. Troy Brown needs every single minute possible to ever be viable. Rui is a power forward center option at 5,100. Even at 30 minutes, I don't have him looking all that great. I think pretty clearly the best play for the Lakers today is Anthony Davis, center eligible, 9,900.
Yeah, played 32 minutes in regulation last game as a starter, got to 37 minutes in overtime. So that's 2 games in a row now where we've seen his regulation minutes increased, but then he also plays all of overtime. So you got to think he's just getting back to, 34, 35, 36 minutes sooner rather than later. Good price tag, great matchup. I'm with you. I really like Davis here.
Yeah. That said, you're going to find other options that are also quite good in terms of payups. This is another day where you're going to have the salary to get to LeBron, and clearly a matchup against Indiana works. He's just not going to look as good as like the guys that are above him in salary for sure. And then there are a couple of guys that I think just have broken price tags a bit below him.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the issue. I mean, he does have more favorable positional eligibility than Davis. It is interesting to me that right now he's getting way more ownership than Davis. I assume that changes, but
that makes no sense.
The small forward, power forward piece is nice, but with the value that we're expecting to have on the slate, it's probably just going to be easy enough to get to Jokic, Giannis, Luka, who, we talked yesterday, like with Embiid, where it was like, well, it's a little bit easier than usual to get to Embiid because you don't have any of those top guys. Now all three of the best fantasy guys in the league are playing. So it just makes LeBron, who's obviously really good and is getting less expensive now that Davis is back. Like he's a good play. It's just, I think I'm going to get more of those other guys.
Okay. Yeah. Like I would rather get to Giannis, Jokic, and Luka before I would get to LeBron in this spot. So we'll see where that ends up, but I expect that ownership to go away. Do you want to go to your boy Rui if he's starting?
He's fine. I mean, you can't expect him to shoot 75% from the field like he did last game. He had 9 rebounds last game, which is probably also on the high end of what you're going to be getting from him. But it is still a good matchup. The minutes should be there. Like this kind of just, it's almost like the trade. Even from a DFS standpoint, it's just like, I don't think Rui's a very good player, but he's not like horrible. And the people he was replacing on the Lakers are horrible. So it was a good trade for the Lakers. And it's kind of the same thing here where he's not a great player, but the minutes should be there just because the rest of this team sucks. And he should get open looks. I mean, you have Anthony Davis and LeBron pulling defenders. He should get plenty of open looks. Whether or not he knocks them down, who knows? But it wouldn't be surprising if he does shoot at a bit higher clip with the Lakers than he did with the Wizards. Still not expecting 75% or anything like that. But I think he's decent here. It's a good matchup. The minutes should be there, assuming he starts. If he comes off the bench, I don't have interest. But assuming he starts, I think the minutes should be there. I think he looks okay at 5,100, but it's still, I basically just expect him mostly on this team to be somebody that rebounds a little bit, but is basically just a catch and shoot guy. And when he shoots well, he pays off his cheap price tag. And when he doesn't, you're absolutely screwed.
There we go. I think 7% ownership for him is is right where it should be. I have nothing really to add there. I don't really have anything else here for the Lakers. They're just a really easy team to talk about. Catch yourself some AD if you can.
Yeah, agreed. Westbrook still sitting at 8K makes it pretty tough to get there.
Yes, it does.
If Troy Brown starts at 3,800, I'm not really interested, but he'd be like a, 150 max last guy in type guy.
Yeah, we're about to talk about another garbage mid 3K guy that could be viable here.
Yeah, if Troy Brown started on last night's slate, he'd probably be like the best play on the slate. But
yeah, welcome back, Tyrese Halliburton, probable for today. We have basically
no more McConnell.
I know. We basically have single-digit ownership going across the board. We get to 11% on Buddy Hield and 12% on Isaiah Jackson, which sure. I'm a little bit more interested in Indy here. We'll talk about some of those spots in a second, but let's just start with Halliburton. 8,800 on DraftKings, 9,100 on FanDuel. I have a hard time believing that he's just coming in here and playing like 36 minutes. I gave him 30, and at that point, I'm going to find it pretty hard to get to Halliburton.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go to like 32, it's a good matchup, but at 8,800, I think it's just going to be tough to get there, especially given that we do have plenty of value today. So those are taking up spots. We're going to, it's going to be easy to pay up to guys a little bit more expensive. He's point guard only as well. I mean, I love Halliburton, the player. I love the matchup. I just don't have confidence he's playing enough minutes for me to get to that price tag today.
Okay. I think the Hield ownership is more than reasonable. I think the 10% ownership coming into Miles Turner is more than reasonable at 7,300. Thoughts on the 12% coming to Isaiah Jackson, who did play 21 minutes this past Sunday, but is going to be limited to whatever Miles Turner isn't playing. Feels a little healthy for this slate, given what we have.
Yeah, it seems pretty aggressive. The other problem there is that it's not always Isaiah Jackson.
Yeah.
So, and it's not even a situation like with Charlotte where, sometimes it's Nick Richards, but if it's Mark Williams, it's Mark Williams for all the minutes. Sometimes it's just Isaiah Jackson for half the minutes and Jalen Smith for the other half. To me, this is more similar to the Minnesota backup center rotation, which once again burned me yesterday for, I think I'm at a 100% rate of guessing wrong who is playing out of Garza and Knight. But
I was with you on that one. I didn't think that Luka Garza could play against the Warriors.
I thought there was a much better chance that they just went small and DNP'd Knight than that Garza played overnight.
Agreed.
But so that's sort of the problem here is at least like when you talk about those Charlotte guys, it's like, all right, well, if I guess right, I'm getting 16 to 20 minutes from these guys. Here, it's like, well, if I guess right, I still might end up just getting split minutes. So at ownership, I think it's really tough to get there. Also, he's center only. He doesn't have power forward eligibility, so the opportunity cost is high. Like, he's a good point per minute guy, but if you're projecting Miles Turner for, say, 32 minutes, you can only be projecting Jackson for 16 at most.
Right. And there's, like, in competitive games, you're getting 34, 35, 36 out of Miles Turner. Like, yeah, this is different than like Plumlee, where he's basically just locked in at that 30 spot.
It's just a matter of if he gets in foul trouble or not.
Yep, it is. I hate doing this. So assuming the starting lineup is going to be Halliburton, Hield, Nembhard, Nesmith, Turner.
Halliburton, Hield,
Nembhard, Nesmith, Turner.
Yeah, I got confused because you said Hield first, so I was trying to, that's what I think it is.
I don't like saying this out loud, but $3,600 small forward, power forward, Aaron Nesmith is an interesting value play to me if we're going to get ownership going to like other also garbage value options.
If we're going to get ownership going to other guys, sure. Like if we get to lock on this slate and you actually have a bunch of ownership going to Isaiah Jackson, for example, at center, then yeah, like Nesmith's probably playing 26-ish minutes. Yeah. He's not a very good point per minute guy, but it is a good matchup. He can just accidentally run into stats. I think it's likely that by lock on the slate, you just don't care about Aaron Nesmith.
Completely agree. I think that is a very, very much only a 10 o'clock in the morning thing to point out, but we're going to talk about a few guys that are getting ownership that I don't think are all that different than him. Sort of the Jalen Suggs play from yesterday. And I just wanted to point him out. Now, Mathurin to me is still very viable off the bench. I still think he's going to be right around 30 minutes, shooting guard, small forward. The usage is going to be there and has been there for him off the bench. 2.5% owned. I think Benedict Mathurin is my favorite like GPP option from the Pacers.
Yeah, I wish he was like 54 or 5,500. Like, it's not that big of a difference. It just seems like it is, but shooting guard, small forward should get, probably 28 minutes or so. I don't think I get much of him, but I see what you're saying. Like, if he plays well, he could get more minutes. It is a good matchup. He is better than LeBron. So there's also that, according to him.
Like he's the highest usage guy on this team. That's always just going to be intriguing to me.
Yeah.
At 2.5% ownership on this particular slate with that eligibility too. Like all the pieces sort of fit together well, other than like the slightly increased price tag.
Yeah. I don't love the price tag. I don't love Halliburton coming back.
Although I don't know how much that hurts him because it's not like Halliburton comes back as like a 30% usage guy.
No, it's just that it's another body in the rotation. I don't know exactly how the rotation is going to look.
Yeah, I basically, for all intents and purposes, I don't want to say removed Duarte, but I think he's just going to go back to what he was doing when Halliburton was healthy, which was like basically not playing.
He was also hurt for a lot of that time, though, is the thing.
Sure. It could be Brissett then, too. Like, it's going to be one of those two guys, I think.
I think that's likely.
McConnell's going to be the backup point guard. And then you just kind of roll the dice with one of these other guys not being around. I got nothing else for Indiana.
I think it's still likely you're getting like upper 20s in minutes from Mathurin. I think you're going to less frequently see the like 33 minutes.
I agree. Anything else you want to touch on here? Anybody else that you think is like Indiana's just sort of an interesting team. It's just a really good spot.
Yeah, it's for the most part, I think they're correctly priced. I mean, Turner's the only one that stands out to me. He is slightly worse with Halliburton on the floor, but it's not like Halliburton's a huge usage guy. It's just that, he's a higher usage guy than TJ McConnell, but also, excellent passer and can get Turner some looks. So you only see Turner's point per minute production go from like 1.2 to 1.15 with Halliburton on versus off.
Okay. Anything else here? We good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Schedule for the rest of the day. We have the No House Advantage NBA show coming up at 3:30. Adam will be back for the deeper dive at 5, and then you'll get live before lock from 6 to 7:30. We'll have plenty of other pre-recorded content. My contenders videos are out already. Adam will have his NBA BetPro videos coming out in the early afternoon as well, so keep your eyes peeled there. Definitely should be checking out the BetPro product. We'll talk about that in a bit. But for now, 360 people in here, just 59 likes. Kind of embarrassing. Hit that like button, folks. If you haven't done it already, what in the world are you waiting for? Moving on to game number 2, Memphis Grizzlies, 5-point dogs in Cleveland, 226 total. This one is really weird for me. Because Memphis is on a back-to-back, and I'm guessing we don't get Desmond Bane today, but I don't know that for sure. We have no idea what's going on here. I don't really know who's going to be the center for this game either. We got Tillman last night, which went quite well for Tillman. So let's start with simple stuff. If Xavier Tillman is the starting center for Memphis today at 4,200, to me, he looks really good.
Yeah, the minutes should be there. It's obviously a very, very tough matchup here against Cleveland, but the minutes should be there for him. We've seen him start 2 games now with Adams out. He played 30 minutes in the first one and probably lost minutes to garbage time. Yesterday, he played 28 minutes. They did close with Clark, but I think if Tillman starts, expecting 27, 28 minutes from him and 18-ish from Clark makes sense. We got a couple minutes at center from Jaren Jackson again, which I expect to continue. So at 4,200, Tillman's just going to look pretty good despite the difficult matchup.
I think as long as he starts, he's the best play from Memphis today.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that.
Now,
assuming that everybody's in.
If we lose Bane, I think Morant obviously gets a bit of a bump. Dylan Brooks becomes functional. Jaren Jackson's basically still the same guy. Although 38 and 34 minutes in back-to-back games. It's nice to see that he's just out there. I want to know, are they trying to ramp him up? It can't be foul trouble every day, obviously, but he's just always 28 minutes.
Yeah, normally he's around 20. I think part of it probably has to do with Adams being out. When Adams is in, sure, you're just getting all of the backup minutes. At least you have been getting all of the backup minutes going to Brandon Clark. Now, maybe going forward, we just see that turn into some Jaren Jackson as well. But I think it's just easier to give 48 minutes to Adams plus Clark than Tillman plus Clark. So I think that's part of it. But also, the playing time is good. It at least makes me I think now you can project 28, 29 minutes from him. Whereas it was always tough before because it's all right, well, he's playing 28 if he's not in foul trouble. But that means I can't give him 28 because it's Jaren Jackson and he's going to be in foul trouble. So now I think you can at least get to that 28, 29 mark.
I went 29 today. It doesn't seem to be making much of a difference. Maybe that'll open up a little bit more if we do get Bane news. But I don't really have anything else to say for Memphis right now because we just kind of need to know what this team's going to look like.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Bane has played a back-to-back recently. He played 34 and then 29 minutes on the 22nd and 23rd. Then I think we got a Memphis back-to-back where they just sat half the team. They've been tricky with that. There's not one guy now that they're just opposed to playing on back-to-backs, but then they also just occasionally are oh yeah, by the way, Morant and Bane and everybody else are sitting. So certainly could get value opening up here. If Morant ends up being out, you have a $4,400 Tyus Jones who looks fantastic. But if we assume all of these guys are in and Tillman is starting, Tillman looks good. Other than that, it's just sort of tournament darts on Morant, Jackson, and that's probably it.
And if everybody is in and they go back to Brandon Clark starting, I don't think Brandon Clark looks that great at 5,800. He's fine. That's right. He's an okay guy, but he is not the same value that he was 3 or 4 games ago.
Yeah, ownership would play a big role there. When you and I did the deeper dive yesterday before we got news Tillman was starting, I was getting a lot of Clark at 6K. It's not because I thought it was a great price tag. It's just because he fit nicely into lineups and nobody else was playing him. It's a worse matchup today. But yeah, I mean, if you get he's power forward eligible, which is nice. If you get Brandon Clark starting, you can expect 27, 28 minutes. If he's unowned, then sure, I like him, but it's not the same earlier in the year it would have been when I just said if Morant's out, you just plug in Tyus Jones. It would be if Clark is starting, you just plug in Clark, but now it's not quite that cut and dry.
Now I'm ready to talk about a team that I don't think is getting enough love in our ownership. I think Cleveland looks exceptional here. This is a massive pace up spot for the Cavaliers. Cleveland is dead last in my pace metric right now. They are 30th. Memphis is first. So this is the biggest chasm that I can project in terms of pace between these two teams. And I think their prices are broken. Darius Garland's 7,800 for today. Donovan Mitchell is 8,100. I think Mobley looks good at 7K. Probably the right price, but you get the power forward eligibility. Jared Allen is at 6,300. These guys are all in Mobley's at 6% owned. These other guys are around 15 to 20. I love it here, but I think Donovan Mitchell at 8,100 with point guard, shooting guard eligibility looks incredible today.
Yeah, really, really good price tag for him. We got 37 minutes last game, so that was good to see. Not like he was limited or anything. If Memphis is resting guys, clearly it starts to look even better for Mitchell. But yeah, 8,100 is really cheap. We have Garland down to 7,800 as well. I am a little concerned about his minutes. He only played 30.8 last game, but he was in some foul trouble. We had seen like a shortened rotation from him in the first half the game before, where he only played around 15 minutes, but then last game he got back to normal. So I think you're still likely to get around 35 minutes from him. I'm just a little concerned because we have a healthy Rubio and Mitchell for basically the first stretch of games this year. But I still like, it's just hard for me to imagine that the game plan is like, oh, we're going to play Darius Garland less, given that Darius Garland is very good. So I think you're likely still getting 35, 36 minutes from him, which makes him look reasonable at 7,800. Mobley and Allen both look fine. I think I prefer Allen just because he is only 6,300. Granted, he is center only, but all four of those guys look pretty good. And then I don't think there's much else. You know, Rubio played 17 minutes last game. His salary jumped from 3,200 to 3,800. As you know, it's only $600, but it's still a pretty big increase in terms of percentage and makes it tough to get there.
I assume we get Kevin Love back today after being out for 4 games, and he just sort of steps back into that normal role that we had seen where he's playing like, I don't know, 15 minutes a night.
If that. They do want Dean Wade to be a part of this rotation. So yeah, I think that limits how much Kevin Love we can expect.
I agree. I think these main 4 guys for Cleveland just grade out really, really well. And that increase in pace is never going to get any better. So I'm fascinated. And I assume actually Memphis probably plays even faster without Steven Adams. Just a guess.
I would think so. Yeah, and I mean the pace helps offset Memphis being a very good defensive team.
Absolutely.
Do you know if they play slower with Tyus instead of Morant?
I don't. You would think they do by a little bit, but I wouldn't imagine that's crazy. I'm really curious what their defense looks like when Steven Adams isn't on the floor.
It's also nice with Cleveland because like you have Mitchell and Garland, so it's less likely Dylan Brooks is just out there annoying the shit out of one of them for the entire game.
Yeah. All right. So for the season, 110.3 defensive rating on cleaning the glass. That's 86th percentile. If I take Steven Adams off, so much of that, ends up riding on the shoulders of a center, but you don't know what that does for Jaren Jackson. Defensive rating, 110.8. So it's essentially the exact same, no real change, which doesn't really surprise me. Jaren Jackson is the guy that sort of like runs that defense anyway. Wouldn't have been surprised to see it be different, but yeah, good defense either way. I got nothing else here for Cleveland.
Me neither.
So I assumed that this game was just going to be dog shit from a DFS perspective, and it sort of isn't. The Miami Heat are 1.5 point favorites in New York, 213 total. That's 27 points less than that Lakers Indiana game. There's a Golden State Denver game at like 240, a couple others in the 230s. I thought that was just going to eviscerate anything that could look good here, but Victor Oladipo is doubtful. Gabe Vincent is questionable. Orlando Robinson broke his thumb, so I guess we're getting the Dwayne Dedmon experience as the backup center again. But the prices on these Heat guys are very interesting. Tyler Hero, 6,700. He's pulling 27% ownership. Jimmy Butler, 7,400. He's pulling 27% ownership. Bam is always interesting at 7,900. Caleb Martin pulled the Caleb Martin game out of his ass on Tuesday. I don't know if he's going to do that again, but he's at least interesting because they only have 9 real bodies plus Udonis Haslem. I assume people are going to try this Kyle Lowry experience again at 4,900. Maybe he'll have negative fantasy points once again.
I feel like the NBA should just require the Magic to give like 4 rotation players to the Heat because the Magic always have 19 guys that are in the rotation and could be in the rotation, and Miami never has more than like 9 active players.
Well, the problem is Duncan Robinson's hurt. Jovic is hurt. Yurtsevic's been out. Orlando Robinson's out now. Maybe they call up Jamal Cain from the G League. I don't know. They're just like walking wounded, but the guys that can play today, I mean, you have to Dedmon's going to play backup run. I think Haywood Highsmith is going to play backup run. Like 6 of these guys are going to get pretty sizable minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably getting around 30 from Lowry. He sucks, but whatever. He's 4,900. I don't want to play a lot of him, but the minutes should be there. Hero, Butler, Bam all should play a ton, and their price tags have come down, particularly Bam down to 7,900. Center only on DraftKings. So again, you get the opportunity cost there, but 13% ownership, 12% chance of being optimal at 7,900. Hero should play a ton of minutes. You got about 37 last game, and Oladipo being out just helps to secure that. Butler pulling 28% ownership. Like, I think the ownership here might be or probably is a little bit high relative to, optimal percentage, but they're still very likely to succeed. You have a 21% optimal percentage on Hero, 22 on Butler, 12 on Bam, 7 on Martin, only 4 on Lowry because he's old.
And awful.
Yeah.
He's really awful. Like, Max Strus shouldn't be a better play than you if you're Kyle Lowry, and he is. That said, though, like I like getting to all these pieces. To me, Hero is the best thing that you can get to. That $6,700 tag is just too low. We saw him get 37.5 minutes again. So I think that has, like, you got to give these minutes to somebody. And I just assume that he has to play 36 today, if not more. And then I think Butler is probably the second best option. So I think the ownership is right. And then we go to the Knicks. So Knicks are normal. It's just no Mitchell Robinson. RJ Barrett is an enigma who is going to ruin my life by the end of this. Everything else is just sort of normal, other than we got 40 minutes out of Isaiah Hartenstein on Tuesday, including overtime. That dude checked in the middle of the third quarter and never came off the floor again. He played the final 6 minutes of the third quarter, all of the fourth quarter, and all of overtime. He did the same thing in the second quarter as well. Let's start with the center rotation. Clearly, you're not playing these two guys together. Can you play Hartenstein at 4K? How do we project these center minutes for the Knicks?
So first, just to start off, Brandon Katz said Dedmon won't play much. The Knicks don't have a traditional backup center. Hartenstein is like the spitting image of Dwayne Dedmon. So that's a great take.
Can you imagine saying that Isaiah Hartenstein isn't a traditional backup center?
Like, if you're saying like he's a stretch 5, so is Dedmon. Like, they're kind of the same guy.
I mean, to be fair, it is Brandon Katz. He's not bright.
Either way, though, Dedmon will not play much because he doesn't play alongside Bam, and Bam plays a lot. But just kind of thought it was funny that his clone is the backup center on the Knicks.
He's not a traditional center. He's 7 feet tall.
Right. Like,
what is he? A traditional point guard?
Dedmon is slow and unathletic. What is Hartenstein?
Isaiah Hartenstein has shot 34 threes this year. What do we think that he's doing other than being a center?
Right.
Man if he was the starting center, he averaged 12 boards a game in 36 minutes with 10 points and 2.5 stocks. The dude is only a center in any possible way that you want to describe it.
Yeah. So anyway, Brandon Katz, dumb shit aside.
Oh my God.
I'm kind of surprised there's not more ownership coming into New York, but also it is not a very appealing matchup, and price tags here have come up, so I get it. As far as the center rotation, I think still just sort of expecting 26 for Sims, 22 for Hartenstein makes sense, assuming Sims is starting. I don't know that you can just start, giving all of those minutes to Hartenstein just because he played it last game, but also certainly makes it more appealing that we saw that. He is 4K center only though, so I think still a very difficult play to get to.
What do we do with the rest of these Knicks? Brunson, Randall, Grimes, Quickly. 38.5 minutes, obviously overtime as well. Let me ask you this then. Who's the best Knick today?
Randall?
I think okay. I think it's RJ Barrett, but this dude could play anywhere from 27 minutes to 38.
I'm really concerned about Barrett's minutes.
So am I, but he played 42 games ago.
Yeah, that's like it really, it's that you're going to get 2 of Grimes, Quickly, Barrett closing. And if it's not Barrett, obviously you're screwed. He is 6,300 though, so you did get a nice price drop there.
And it's small forward. It's this wasteland of a position at this point in time. I don't know how to project his minutes. What would you give to RJ Barrett for minutes for today?
And by the way, he played 31 2 games ago.
Yeah, I meant not including the most recent one. It was 40 the game before that.
Okay. Yeah, because my point was it's 2 games in a row now where essentially Emmanuel Quickly's closed over him.
Actually, that was an OT game. If that's 35, not that matters. I still have him in for 35. But let's talk it through. What's the relationship between Barrett's minutes and Quickly?
And it was an OT game, so he played 35.
Yeah.
I think projecting at this point 34 for Barrett. This is somebody that not long ago I was projecting 37, 38. I think the rotation's a big enough concern because, like I said, even 3 games ago, that game where he did get the 35 minutes, he played the final minute 57 of the fourth quarter. But other than that, Quickly was in the closing lineup for, the final from 5 minutes to 2 minutes. It was Quickly over Barrett. You could easily just get a game where that's Quickly instead. Quickly played the entire fourth minus the last minute and 57 seconds. 2 games ago against Brooklyn, it was the same thing. Quickly played over Barrett from the 6 minute 52 second mark until the 1 minute 43 second mark, and then Barrett, technically closed, but Quickly played more fourth quarter minutes than Barrett did. Last game, Barrett just didn't come back. He subbed out, 6 minutes and 50 seconds left, and just never came back into the game. Didn't play overtime either. He was not happy about that after the game. I don't know if this turns into a thing that is consistent, or if, is this the squeaky wheel game where Barrett goes and plays 40 minutes as like an apology for last game. But I think from a projection standpoint, expecting around like 34 makes a lot more sense than the 36, 37 we used to give him.
Yeah. I dropped him down to 34 now. I still think he looks good, like as a point per dollar type play, 0.9 fantasy points per minute at that salary. I hate it. I don't know what to do with this dude because he's just as like, I would not be surprised at all if he came out here and played 36 minutes tonight. Just wouldn't shock me in the slightest. Do you get to anything else here from the Knicks?
No, I mean, Randall, Brunson are both fine. Quickly's okay at 5,400, but nothing that stands out.
All righty. Well, I think you and I should talk a little bit about Prize Picks, presenting sponsor of this show. If you are interested in signing up at Prize Picks, there is a link in the description of this video. Click it, head on over, make a deposit. They're going to match that deposit up to $100. So a great way to start off the bankroll. We've got Prize Picks player prop tool on Stokastic.com that will help you out making all the selections you want to make, because you're picking player props and you're basically building a parlay card. My recommendation, put together a 5-on-1 card. You can net up to 10x your entry fee. Hell, I'm tweeting them out every day right now, and I got a video coming out shortly for it. So keep your eyes peeled for that stuff. Now, I'm going to hit Adam with a couple props from Prize Picks for today. We're going to start it off raw points on this one. I don't think we have any fantasy points yet. Let me just refresh to check. Now, we're going raw points. Let's go to King James. LeBron is at 28.5.
Over.
Ooh, I got 28-1. So it's probably one I'm going to stay away from. How about, let's see, who else would be interesting? Let's take it to Miami, since we just talked about them. Tyler Hero, 20.5.
Need to find Tyler Hero. We have 20.3.
Okay. Yeah, I got 20.6. That one seems to be pretty efficient. Jimmy Butler, 21.5. I have the under.
Yeah, slight under here.
Which never makes me feel like good or anything, but I do have a slight under. We'll close it out. One final one from the Knicks. Julius Randle, over under 24.5.
24.5?
Yeah, I have the under.
We have a 24.5.
Seems like it's spot on. Guys, that's Prize Picks. Again, keep your eyes peeled. And if you want to sign up, $100 on that first deposit if you put in 100. That's the best thing that you guys can do. Here we go. Game 4, Charlotte Hornets, 6.5-point dogs in Chicago, 236 total. For the Hornets, they are still without Kelly Oubre and Cody Martin. And we are coming off a absolute monster LaMelo Ball day. And I don't really see a reason that he couldn't do it again today. 14% ownership for LaMelo, 14% for Rozier. Not much else coming in. Let's just start with LaMelo. How do you feel about him at 9,600?
Yeah, still a solid price tag. You saw the upside last game. It's a tricky price, because you always have good guards that you can get to. On this slate, it's going to be relatively easy to pay up for guys that, look better than LaMelo as well. But the upside that you're getting, if he avoids foul trouble, you're getting huge minutes as well. Right now, we have him pulling 14% ownership, 15% chance of being optimal. So that all looks good. I don't have any issues getting there. Same goes for Rozier at 7,300. We have him going a little bit over-owned right now, but still a 10% chance of being optimal, 15% ownership. Don't have any problems with either of those guys. Certainly would prefer getting to LaMelo, though.
Is it Mark Williams season again today?
It's interesting to me that he's 4% owned today instead of like 100, but same
Up to
play.
4K.
Like, yeah, he's more expensive at 4K. It's the same play. Like, you should play 16, 17 minutes. I don't think you have the same need for value today that you did the last time that he played. For him to have a game that you're really happy you played him as a 4K center, you need Mason Plumlee to get in foul trouble. So certainly a risky play, nothing that I really love. I would rather get the Plumlee at 6,500.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Although the lack of ownership for Mark Williams, oddly enough, makes him more interesting to me today than he was 2 days ago. Yeah. It's so dumb. Anything in the like PJ Washington, Gordon Hayward, Jalen McDaniels range?
Hayward started last game, still only played 27 minutes, didn't close. Not very good this year either, but shooting guard, small forward, 5,300, like mildly interested, just waiting on us getting a game where he plays starter minutes, but not really, no.
Okay. And we go to the Bulls, who obviously are in a great spot against a fast-paced Charlotte team that also is just truly dreadful defensively. And we've got some just straight dumb prices at the top of Chicago. Now we're getting teens ownership to DeRozan, Vooch, LaVine, and Patrick Williams. Not so sure I agree on the Patrick Williams piece at 5K, but 8,700 for DeMar, small forward, power forward. 8,900 for Vooch, center eligible. 8,200 for LaVine, shooting guard, small forward. These guys are playing 37 minutes a game like clockwork. I like all three. I'm surprised LaVine isn't pulling away from them just because of the better eligibility and the cheapest price tag. I like LaVine the most, but any one of those three guys and potentially two of those three guys, I'm more than happy to get to.
Yeah, I mean, Vooch looks great here. The only reason he's not pulling more ownership is because, you have Bam for $1,000 less. You have Jared Allen for $2,600 less. You have just so many centers on every slate. But Vooch looks fantastic here in this spot. I'm with you on LaVine. Shooting guard, small forward is just really useful. He's pulling 19% ownership on DraftKings, 19% chance of being optimal. DeRozan, a little bit more difficult to get to because he's $500 more than LaVine, and he doesn't project as well as Vooch, but he's still pulling 11% ownership. I don't mind Patrick Williams, depending on what sort of value opens up between now and lock. Right now, he's just somebody that's going to fall into, 15% or so of your lineups. But as value opens up, he's going to become less appealing. But Vooch, LaVine in particular look really, really good.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy to get to anything here at the top end for Chicago. How do you want to handle the Dosunmu, Caruso, Kobe White dance?
Probably aren't going to need much of any of them, but you can expect 26 to 28 minutes from Dosunmu. Caruso should play around 22. Once again, if you're going to get 10% ownership to Dosunmu and 1 to 2 to Caruso, I like just turning some of the Dosunmu into Caruso. I think that they're pretty similar. Same goes for Kobe White at 3,300, but realistically, I don't think any of these guys are going to be big parts of the slate.
We're on the same page there. Just get me the top of Chicago for sure. Then we go to the Pelicans. New Orleans Pelicans are 4.5-point dogs in Dallas, 225 total. No Zion, no Dyson Daniels. We saw Brandon Ingram play 33 minutes on Tuesday. Big minutes out of Herb Jones as well. Basically single-digit ownership across the board for the Pelicans, but we need to have this conversation too. What the hell do we do at center with this Pelicans team? They unearthed Willy Hernangomez again for 9 minutes on Tuesday. Joe Val played 19 minutes, coming off of 22 and 9 in the previous two. I believe the Saturday one was an injury, if I remember correctly. But either way, I don't know what to do with these dudes anymore. I don't know how to project their center rotation.
Yeah, me neither. It was actually even easier earlier in the year when you just had to say 23 for Joe Val, 25 for Nance off the bench. Now it's like anywhere from 20 to 30 for Joe Val, anywhere from like 16 to 26 for Nance, and then anywhere from 0 to 10 for Hernangomez. Like, it's really, really difficult. I do think at 5,700, there's reason to be interested in Joe Val in tournaments. He is pulling 11% ownership. I would prefer that it were lower. He's a good point per minute guy. It's just a matter of, does he play more than 18, 19 minutes. Larry Nance started out really slowly last game, but did close and come through and have a good game for everyone. But he's up to 4,700. I do find it difficult to get him. Like, even if he plays 24, 25 minutes at 4,700, he's not going to look that good. And if he plays 21 to 22, you're probably in trouble. So of the center options, I think Joe Val's the most interesting to get to just because that price tag has gotten so cheap.
Yeah, the Nance rotations were weird too. Like, he came in, he basically didn't play the first and third quarters, if I remember correctly. Yeah, very, very minimal.
Hernangomez subbed in before Larry Nance.
Yeah.
Larry Nance
It's
subbed in for Herb Jones, not for Jovel.
yeah, I don't like how many minutes are you projecting? How many minutes are you willing to project for the trio of Joval, Nance, and Willie Hernangomez? How many more than 48?
So last game they played 49 and a half. I think if you project it to like 50 to 52, you're okay. Something
Yeah.
like 8 to 10 minutes for Hernan Gomez. I don't know, 22 for Joval. So if you let's say you go 8 on Hernan Gomez, 22 for Joval, 22 for Nance, that gives you 52 minutes.
It's I started looking at
the
it today and I was just like, I don't know where to put these numbers.
right. The tricky part here, and the reason that Joval in particular is somewhat interesting in tournaments is if you turn that Hernan Gomez into a 0, then Nance looks okay. Valanciunas looks really good. Like if you called this the rotation from earlier in the year where Joval plays 23 and Nance plays 25, Nance would look mediocre at 4,700. Joval would still look good at 5,700. It's just if Hernan Gomez plays, how did these minutes break down? I think something like I just said, 8, 22, 22 makes the most sense to me.
Okay. Yeah, it's a tricky spot. How do you want to handle McCollum and Ingram? Not really pulling all that much ownership. I got a little bit of interest in Brandon Ingram at 7,100, but it's very little.
Yeah, I mean, Ingram is somewhat interesting to me just because we are seeing the playing time ramp up. He got to 33 minutes last game. So, pretty much just back to his normal playing time, and he's down to 7,100. So I do like that. And, playing without Zion. The problem is that it's not a very appealing matchup going up against Dallas, but I do like the price tag. McCollum at 7,600 is okay. I think I'd prefer getting to not Nance, Ingram, just because he is a little bit cheaper. He's shooting guard instead of point guard. The minutes creeping up on Ingram does take production away from McCollum. So I think they're both similar tournament plays, but I would prefer getting to Ingram.
You expecting another 27 stock performance out of Herb Jones or whatever he had on Tuesday?
And 100% shooting? No, I'm not.
Any interest in the Murphy, Jones, Najee Marshall type guys?
From an ownership standpoint, maybe. Like we mentioned, Patrick Williams is pulling like 17% ownership right now at 5K. Herb Jones is pulling 1. Play some Herb Jones at the expense of Patrick Williams, but there's nothing, or some 2%, $4,600 Murphy, same thing. But there's nothing that I'm like actively looking to get to from the wings here.
On the Dallas side, Christian Wood still out, but return imminent. Maxi Kleber still out as well. We've got 18% ownership coming to Luka Doncic, 12,300. We've got 13% coming to Dorian Finney-Smith. As per usual, I think I'm a little bit more interested in most of Dallas that plays in comparison to where we have the ownership coming in just from a matchup perspective. But, single digits across the board for a team that's basically only playing 7 dudes for 25 minutes plus. Let's start with Luka. Assuming we are right about Golden State, and at the very least, we still have the rest of the day to create additional value. I see no reason not to get up to $12,300 Luka Doncic.
Yeah, absolutely love Luka. There's no real way around that. You can argue Herb Jones is going to defend him. Like, great. Obviously, I would prefer Herb Jones not defend him, but also I don't care. It's Luka. He's going to play huge minutes. He's going to do everything for this team. Price tag even came down marginally. Assuming we get the value that we're expecting to get, I plan on getting to a ton of Luka.
You and me both, and I did, so that makes me feel good, but I'm happy, maybe not happy, but I don't mind getting to more than 7% of Josh Green at 3,900 or, Dwight Powell at 4,100 as a center option, 4% owned. Maybe he plays the 33 minutes today, and that works out really well for you. I get Dorian Finney-Smith. I don't mind getting to Dinwiddie. Hardaway, probably the guy that I like the least out of anything here, but I'm happy to get to just about anything from Dallas just because of the minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want anything else from Dallas, but
yes,
if they fall into lineups here and there, that's fine. Like you should get 34, 35 minutes from Finney-Smith. Most of those minutes will be with Luka, which are very non-productive minutes. 7,200 for Dinwiddie, still a bit more expensive than I would want to pay with Luka back. He is playing the non-Luka minutes, but the problem is that that's typically just like 10 minutes. So still tough to really like that price tag. Powell being center only, sure, you can throw him in the mix as a low priority guy, but there's no one other guy that stands out to me. Dorian Finney-Smith is getting the most ownership, and I think I agree with that just based on the playing time. But I'm with you as far as just low owned pivots. Any of these guys are fine just based on the minutes they're playing.
Yeah, I think they're interesting GPP plays just because there's nothing there other than Finney-Smith. And if my answer is, well, then I just don't play Dorian Finney-Smith and I get a couple of these other guys, I'm willing to go that direction. But Luka is my prized possession for this one. I'm just going to ask you the question now, even though we haven't really talked about everybody yet. Is Luka the best pay-up option for today?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on the same page as you then.
Yeah, I mean, my default answer is yes. But I can't think of any reason he wouldn't be.
Okay. Well, we will get there in a second. But for now, let us quickly talk a little bit about BetPro, because it's interesting to you, right? Monday through Friday, BetPro video. You're taking everybody through the tool, giving out what we have as the best plays, correct?
Yeah.
Perfect. Great sell job there, Adam. If you're interested in a 7-day free trial of our BetPro package, you can get that by clicking the link in the description. Then it's going to be about $16 a week or up to $55 a month, something in that neighborhood. Am I getting that right? Have those prices changed yet?
I don't know
when if they've changed, then I'm going to reread everything that I just said. Let me make sure that I got it correct. That read is not there. Jordan, do you know if they've changed yet? All right. They're already up. Sorry, folks. I missed out. I didn't update my read. Apologies. You can still get that 7-day free trial, however, but prices have been increased. $30 a week. Should have got it, folks. You should have got it. These are the same projections that we use for DFS. So it's created by Alex Baker. You know him as Osimo. Steve Buzzard. You know him as DeColts. Shanzon. You know him as Shanzon. They put together everything here for you guys, and the product is working perfectly. You can see it on the BetPro page itself. We've got some screenshots that point out how well this bad boy has been working since the jump. Solid ROI across the board. We had to raise the price, folks. Sorry about that one, but come check it out. Get that free trial. Ooh, even Adam getting in on it. I like it.
His name is just all I see anytime I look at chat. Like,
it's miserable, isn't it? It's so miserable. Try your own show, man. I'm sure you'll get a ton of views.
Like, it doesn't have anything to do with what he's saying. It's just like, talk less.
Yes. It's well, it'll be the same comment over and over too.
Right. Yeah, like I was going back.
Levine's tired.
Right. Like
tired.
I saw all the deleted messages. I was like, oh, what did he say? And then it's just like the same thing 4 times. Like,
yeah, just copying, pasting from his side sheet of notes for the day. He should just write the deeper dive at this point, or the deep dive. Apologies.
Can he? He can do the notebook.
Maybe he's Chat GPT.
Right. Yeah.
But like the first version, you know, the one that's like sucks. Oh man. Okay.
He's the reason it gives you that disclaimer. Like, you might get inaccurate information.
Oh man. All right, here we go. Golden State Warriors, 11.5-point dogs in Denver, 239 total. At the very least, the betting market is letting you know that a couple of these guys for Golden State aren't going to play. I think you and I are probably on the same page here that Curry, Clay, Draymond, and Wiggins aren't going to play today like they did this past Friday. The only other piece that would be up in the air there is whether or not we think Jordan Poole plays. I do, but who the hell knows?
Yeah, I mean, he typically has in these spots.
So I projected Golden State's starting lineup to mirror what they did on Friday, January 20th. Poole, DiVincenzo, Ty Jerome, Kuminga, and Kevon Looney. I think Anthony Lamb could work his way in there if he needed to. I also wouldn't be surprised if JaMychal Green did. But if you're going to go to big minutes on Looney, I think Green probably just slots in as basically the backup center. Anything that you want to add to that sort of take so far?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Then we are, I assume, on the same page where we say, let it rip on some of these Golden State guys. In particular, Ty Jerome and Kuminga, if starting, sub 4K, soaking up ownership, and just great plays today.
Yeah, they'll both look really good, assuming that they're starting. They're really cheap. Price tags actually came down from where they were, at least on Kuminga. So they're both going to look fantastic. Do we have Wiseman back? Because we have him projected.
Yes.
Okay.
I have him in for 14 minutes today, too.
Okay, we have him in for more than that, I think.
I could see it. I mean, the minutes are they're available. They're available. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have 10 guys today, if we assume Ryan Rollins is with the G League team. I think Wiseman can play every minute that Looney doesn't play at center. My assumption is that they're going to try to play James Wiseman every minute that Nikola Jokic isn't on the floor. Otherwise, Jokic is going to embarrass him.
Yeah, agreed.
That said, all right, let's look at Poole. 6,500 on DraftKings, point guard, shooting guard. In the minutes that he's played where most of these guys are off, 35% usage. We got him at 24% ownership. I hope that holds.
So wait, you have him at 35% usage with Clay and Curry off?
Sort of, yeah. Where are you? Why are you about to tell me a bigger number?
I have it at 31.
Oh, okay.
But that's because it didn't take Curry off. Never mind. I'll say I thought 31 was low. That's why I was confused. 34% without them on the floor. So same ballpark. 1.14 DraftKings points per minute. Also a 31% assist percentage. If Poole is in at 6,500, he's just going to be a clear top option today.
24% ownership is kind of weird to me.
I thought it would be higher. I think it should be higher.
I have 70 of him right now, and I am more than okay with that.
Yeah, I would expect to be around there as well.
Okay. Jerome and Kuminga are just essential free squares to me. So long as they are starting this game, I don't care what amount of them I get, and I don't generally care what their ownership is going to be.
Agreed. If we get that same starting lineup, Jerome played 41 minutes last time. Like, I don't think he plays that many necessarily, but
I gave him 32. Like, there are minutes to give around too, if you want to. Like, I gave Patrick Baldwin 14, and I don't necessarily think that I have to.
Right. But like, even if Jerome plays like 26 at 3K, he's going to look good. Much less, probably playing more. Kuminga, agreed, free square. DiVincenzo is going to look really good, 5,200 as well, assuming he's playing and starting. He's produced 0.88 DraftKings points per minute without Thompson or Curry on the floor. He's shooting guard, small forward. Like, that looks like another very, very good option.
Yeah, the only issue with Dante DiVincenzo is he's like the most correctly priced of all of these guys because he normally plays like 27, 28 minutes a game anyway. So he still looks great, but there's not as much like wiggle room between where he normally is and what he's going to get from this one. How do you want to manage Kevon Looney, who played 31.8 minutes the last time we did this, and he's a $4,600 point per minute center in a matchup where, like, if you're ever going to need somebody to go out there and be a defensive player against Nikola Jokic, like, you're going to do a lot. You can do a lot worse than Kevon Looney. I gave him 28 minutes. I think he's pretty interesting at 4.5% ownership.
Yeah, I think he looks okay. I mean, he played 31.5 last time. The concern with him is you always run the risk in these games of Kevon Looney playing one rotation and going to the bench because he just wants to keep his streak intact. But if he plays real minutes, I think he looks good. I just don't know if he's playing real minutes.
So first of all, why does he keep saying that LeBron's 10-3? That's not even the right price tag anyway. Not that I would expect him to be right. So if you're dubious of Kevon Looney's minutes, what do you want to do with a flat 3K James Wiseman, who we currently have projected for 26% ownership?
Yeah, I mean, this one, I think my opinion is probably just going to change throughout the day because I need to actually figure out like how I think this rotation looks. But we have him at 21.5 minutes. If he plays 21.5 minutes, he looks amazing at 3K, and I would just rather play him than Kevon Looney. He didn't like, I don't know how many minutes he plays at all. It really depends on how many minutes Looney plays.
Yeah. And even then, I don't necessarily could also just be JaMychal Green.
Right. Like, Wiseman could very easily play like 16 minutes here.
Yeah. Like I said, I gave him 14. You could talk me into a couple more for sure. I don't think that would be all that crazy, but like, would you rather have Isaiah Jackson or James Wiseman today?
James Wiseman.
Okay.
Well, at current ownership, neither one, but
sure.
Yeah, probably Wiseman. We only have one game from him this year where Draymond, Steph, and Clay were out. He played 16.6 minutes. I want to go back and see when that game was.
Like, I'm more interested in Anthony Lamb at 3,600 at no ownership than James Wiseman if he's 26% owned.
I think that's reasonable. I probably just won't really care.
It's a fascinating setup here. I think if Wiseman's in 25% of lineup by the time that we get to lock, assuming this starting lineup ends up being what we are like expecting it to be, I will have 0 James Wiseman.
So the game that I was referring to is from like the very beginning of the season, November 4th against the Pelicans.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it.
Looney started that one, played 24 and a half minutes. Weissman played 16 and a half off the bench.
There's no way they start him, right?
What?
There's no way they start Wiseman, right?
Not unless they sit Looney.
I mean,
which they're not.
I mean, it's not like Looney hasn't become comfortable coming off the bench.
True. Yeah, I guess they could go. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, if Weissman starts, give him the minutes and play a ton of him.
Yeah.
If he comes off the bench, just kind of do the opposite of what ownership's doing.
Any limitations to the way that you would construct lineups for today because of Golden State? Any limits to players or anything like that?
I don't really think so. I mean, like I wouldn't think I want like James Weissman and JaMychal Green in the same lineup. I wouldn't think I want like Moses Moody and Anthony Lamb together, but I also don't think I would ever get that.
Okay. I assume you're willing to have 4 Warriors.
Yeah, it's not my ideal, but no problem. Like they're just so cheap. Like there's no reason if I have Kuminga, Jerome, Poole, it's not like I can't also have DiVincenzo.
Agreed. They just look great, but we need to figure out who's actually playing for this team first. On the off chance that we also lose Jordan Poole, then like this really becomes a tire fire of random garbage.
Is Looney's streak still going? I thought it was. S&P said he thought it ended.
What's the streak?
Game started.
No, I mean they started going to that 5-man pool party lineup.
Games played.
Oh, I don't think he's missed a game that I can picture. But it's not a start streak, that's for sure.
No, he's been coming off the bench, but I didn't remember his games played streak ending.
Yeah, he hasn't missed a game yet this year. All righty. We'll go to the opposite side of this one. That is the Denver Nuggets. We've got a Q tag on Aaron Gordon. He's got a sprained ankle. Otherwise, it's just normal Denver stuff. 20% ownership going to Murray, 20% going to Jokic. I think both of those numbers make a ton of sense. I wouldn't mind getting some shares of Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter against this backup Golden State team. But other than that, like I don't really need to dig in. We might have seen the end of Zeke Naji. Looks like they're going to Jeff Green at backup center, at least on Tuesday. Bones Highland has unfollowed the team on Twitter and removed them from the bio, so I don't think he's long for Denver either. But I think it starts and ends here with wanting to get to Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, those are clearly the two priorities here. Jokic, center only, so always just a little bit more difficult to get to, but should just torch this Golden State team for however many minutes he's on the floor. Jamal Murray looks great. They're still staggering his minutes with Jokic, which just lets him run the second unit, especially if Bones Highland's going to not really be in the rotation either, like we saw last game. That's going to make Murray look even better because of, not playing with him in those second unit minutes. But actually, I take that back. They did not stagger him in Jokic last game, which is not good for Murray. I
thought they did. First half or second half, one of the two.
Both.
Am I crazy?
Oh, nope. I'm looking. Yeah, no. January 31st against the Pels. Murray and Jokic played together.
Oh, yeah, you're right. What team am I thinking of then?
As soon as you start to get comfortable that Michael Malone's doing something smart with his second unit, he stops.
Yeah.
The second unit did get torched in that game, so
yeah. The starters went on a 16-5 run to close out the second quarter, and then a 21-9 run to start the third quarter. So I think he was just like, well.
Yeah, I mean, but like in the first half when he didn't have Murray out there with the second unit, 11-4 run by the Pels to close the first quarter, 10-2 to open the second quarter.
Yeah.
You have a horrible bench. You can't figure out how to fix it, and your solution is to stop playing Jamal Murray with them. I don't get it. Like, I think Malone's a good coach, but I will never understand how he runs his rotations.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, so Jamal Murray, I think, looks good. I certainly would prefer him if you guaranteed me he was playing with the second unit. But either way, the ceiling's certainly there. 36 minutes from Aaron Gordon. It's good to see.
How does Jokic stack up to the other pay-up options?
I think behind Luka.
Easy, Brandon.
Yeah, behind Luka, similar to Giannis and LeBron.
Okay.
Just because of the position.
Anything else you want to touch on from Denver?
No.
Okay. Close it out. LA Clippers, 4.5-point dogs in Milwaukee, 231 total. 600 people in here, 146 likes. Let's see if we can get up to 200, folks. Hit that thumbs up. Clippers, I think, look very interesting today. This is a great game at 10 o'clock tonight, assuming like you basically get full strength matchups. Q tag on Marcus Morris, still no John Wall. No ownership coming into the Clippers, but like usual, I think you and I are going to be on the same page here. We got a really good game out of Zubats last time out. 1% owned Zubats is very interesting to me. Paul George and Kawhi, I think, are, I guess, appropriately owned, but at the same time, I'm just very interested in them because I think this game is competitive.
Yeah, I think that they're difficult to prioritize, but clearly they are very good. They do give you a nice ceiling. George up to 9K, so that price tag is slowly increasing. He's the only guy pulling double-digit ownership here. Shooting guard, small forward just makes it easy to get him in the lineup. So I do like getting to him here and there. I have a more difficult time paying 9,800 for Kawhi. Don't love that price tag, but he is playing huge minutes. And then I'm with you on Zubats. Like, not somebody that I plan on prioritizing, but at only 1% owned, 5,300, likely playing 28 to 30 minutes. Could play more. Certainly doesn't have to, though. He's about a 0.86 DraftKings point per minute guy with George and Kawhi this year. So, like, I don't think he's a great player or anything. I just think he's a little cheap for the ceiling that he gives you.
Is Reggie Jackson suddenly more interesting? 20 minutes out of Terrence Mann last time out. Reggie Jackson got 27. Is there anything there?
His price tag went up a little bit, which makes him a little bit less interesting, but only pulling 1%. Like, if other good value doesn't open up, I could see taking some shots at him. The problem, though, is that I do think other value is going to open up, and he's point guard only. So, like, rostering him is making it more difficult to get, like, some, whatever combination of Luka, Poole, other good point guards that you want to get to.
Does Morris's status matter?
Not too much. Like, Luke Kennard started in his place, but then also played 17 minutes. It's not like if Morris is out, you're jamming in Luke Kennard as anything other than, just praying to get lucky. I don't think it changes a ton. Norm Powell played 33 minutes. If Morris is in, it's probably like 28. Batum would play less than 27 minutes probably, but doesn't look great one way or the other. So, yeah, I mean, it's like it marginally decreases several players, but I don't think it's the difference in anybody going from like not a good play to a good play.
Okay. Let's close it out then. Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks have Giannis probable. Marshawn Beauchamp probable. Still no Bobby Portis. We got up to 19.9 minutes for Chris Middleton on Tuesday. Slowly creeping up. Price is down to 5K. Only Giannis is getting ownership. He's 13% owned on DK. No one else is getting anything more than 2%. So let's have the conversation. Do you want to get to anything here from Milwaukee other than Giannis?
Not particularly. Giannis obviously looks great whenever he plays. 11-9, so a little bit cheaper than Jokic, or than Luka rather. Power forward, center, small forward, power forward on FanDuel. So a little bit easier positionally to get to, but I do think projects a little bit behind Luka. Other than that, I mean, Drew Holiday's always a good play. He's correctly priced. He's not any sort of a priority here, but he is pulling 3% ownership. So I don't mind that in tournaments. Brook Lopez in tournaments looks okay. Could get a couple extra minutes, with Portis being out, but 6,200 is pretty much the correct price tag. I think pretty much across the board, everything looks correctly priced, except for, you could certainly argue that Giannis is a little bit underpriced. Middleton's down to 5K. He played 20 minutes last game. Like, you're starting to get to that intersection of Chris Middleton's price is dropping while Chris Middleton's playing more. I don't think today's the day that I get there, but it's definitely getting close.
Do you think he starts?
If he starts, I'm playing him.
Interesting. I don't know if it changes anything for me.
I mean, it would just make me go from 20 minutes to 24.
Yeah,
which is
I gave him 20. I gave him 22. I found his rotations to be interesting. They're really just giving him these like 4.5 minute bursts, and they're dropping them right on top of that first quarter, second quarter transition. So like it doesn't allow him to pick up any more of that additional time. I wouldn't be surprised if they started doing the old like first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter start type guy.
Right.
Putting him out there for the second unit at the beginning of the second quarter, getting him like 5-minute rotations, but I don't have a great feel either way.
Yeah, it's just like I think I'll project him for around 20 minutes if he's coming off the bench. If he starts, I'd probably go to 24, expecting kind of like what you were saying, like 6, 6, 6, 6.
Yeah. I got nothing else here from Milwaukee. I like this slate.
I liked yesterday's better,
Well,
but this one can't go worse.
that's also true. I like having a little bit of I don't think we have a ton of obvious value. Like it's Ty Jerome and it's Kuminga here for sure. But like there are a lot of other play. If we're still getting 25% ownership going to James Wiseman and who else had like stupid ownership coming in that shouldn't? Like, even 17% to Patrick Williams is a thing. The Isaiah Jackson ownership coming in, like there's still enough slop out there that it's not just being destroyed by the two Warriors guys. And even still, like one of Kuminga or Jerome is probably likely to fail.
Yeah, I mean, there is still some questionable. I just think a lot of the ownership right now just ends up changing.
You're probably right. I'm anxious to see it. Hit that like button, folks, on your way out the door. Thank you to Prize Picks for being here. Adam will have his BetPro video out in a bit. Go watch
also,
my
Notebook article will be out shortly as well. Just quick summary of each game.
There you go. Think of it like the deep dive, but like the shallow dive.
Yeah, the deep dive article that, takes me 1/5 the time, or 1/20th the time to write.
We should call it the shallow dive.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys for being here. Good riddance to Brandon Katz. Don't come back ever again. We're out of here. Peace.